Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. I'd be joined by my dynamite trio here, Joe Packhem. Welcome back to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
And Mr. Military Steve Balestrieri, the jack of all trades. Go ahead, talk to me, Mr. Balestrieri.
How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. And Mel Farr, superstar co-host.
How's everybody doing?
Am I stealing a little bit from your dad's thunder? If I am, I'm guilty as charged. We're doing really good. Ready to talk some football here.
That's all right.
I'm sure you've heard a lot of it over the years. So folks, when you want to find this episode here, we'll call it the Nail Biter's Delight. And for those in Detroit, that's not the kind of thing that they really want to hear. Losing 19-17 to the Baltimore Ravens, Justin Tucker with a 66-yard field goal. The Lions unable to stop Lamar Jackson on 4th and 19. And Jackson, just to go over his numbers, he was 287 yards in the air, 58 rushing. And all I can tell you, folks, Tom Dempsey did not walk through that door. No sign of the New Orleans Saints, no square foot. It was just a record breaking kick by Justin Tucker. Well, Mel, I guess it's only fitting that I lead off with you since your dad, I believe, played in the Tom Dempsey game, right?
That is correct.
Did he ever talk about that game at all?
If he did, I don't remember it. I think we might have asked about it, knowing that a record was set that particular day. But I can't remember. I barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Well, I know what I had for breakfast, but then again, I would need a lot of dementia to figure out some of the other things I have a while back. But I do know, though, back at the time, Tom Dempsey, everybody, for you historians realize, he had I believe, a square foot, and that the game was played at Tulane Stadium, I believe, by the same identical 19-17 score. So go ahead, Steve. Why don't you add a little perspective to this one?
Yeah, I mean, the heartbreak for the Lions was on that last play before the kick. The Ravens ran the play clock way past zero on that one. They should have got a penalty on that, but the officials, we all know, they're terrible and getting worse, but it was still a tremendous kick. Justin Tucker, he's just amazing. I think they said something like his field goal percentage beyond 50 yards is better than most guys' percentages like from 30. And that's just, I mean, he has a tremendous leg. He's incredibly accurate. And, you talk about some drama there. It hits the crossbar, bounces straight up in the air. I was sitting there watching it and I'm like, which way is it going to go? Unfortunately for you guys, it took a bad bounce, but a situation like that, you just have to tip your hat to that guy. I mean, that's ridiculous amount of leg he has.
Yeah, one of the guys I always used to like watching was Matt Prater. He's with the Arizona Cardinals. And yet, ironically, he was a kicker this on Sunday that it was on the wrong end of a 109-yard touchdown with Jamal Agnew with the Jaguars. But yet, I used to love watching.
Yeah, he tried a 68 yarder that he missed.
68 yarder.
I think the record, the kick that he kicked for the record was against the Lions too, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. So, all right, we're going to throw a curveball at Joe Packhem. We're going to get him started the right way, okay? Because we all love to do that and get the reaction of Mr. Joe's face. So, all right, Joe, this is easier for you. What would a 66-yard field goal translate into fantasy points?
Well, usually it's 3 points for a field goal, 4 points for like 50 yards, and I think it would be 6 points. I have to say I don't play in a lot of leagues with kickers because, it's a lot more unpredictable than like a prospect that you've drafted and then you've been taking a look. But I think it'd be probably between 5 and 6 points. But if you want to talk about fantasy, DeAndre Swift was looking good in that game. He was performing well for
No,
fantasy.
no, no. We're talking about the kicker. Don't get out of subject because you can't answer the question. When it's your area of expertise, just giving you a hard time. I've been curious to see what a 66-yard field goal would be in fantasy points because none of us know it anyways. Mel, you know nothing about fantasy. Steve Balestrieri know nothing about fantasy, and I like reality. So you're the only kahuna here that could talk about fantasy. We're only talking about care. We don't need DeAndre Swift. We're not looking for you to get a weasel out of this one with any other player. We only want what Justin Tucker would have gotten on this thing. And I'm not going to count the other points he's had all day, just what a 66-yard kick would translate into fantasy terms. Nice try, Joe.
Come back to me.
Come back to you. No, that's okay. I think that said it all. He's not sure either because that's one heck of a long kick. All I know is for a lot of us that are old enough to understand, I don't know if you guys remember the movie, and I don't watch a lot of movies, but that kick, that mule Gus back in the day, do you guys remember seeing that movie?
You sent me the video on that.
I did, didn't I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gus went ahead and kicked some longer field goals than Justin Tucker. And I don't know, Mel, do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Now I don't want to put Joe in a bind because that might have been before your time. So you get out of this one easy. But you got the three of us that remember the kicker / mule Gus, and we all know that they tried to get him drunk and intoxicated. And we're not trying to send an alcoholic lesson on here, but at least we can say that Justin Tucker was not intoxicated. And for a lot of people in Detroit land, they'll probably wonder, are the Lions cursed? All right, Mel, that's the other part. Are the Lions cursed?
Yeah, it's kind of like Murphy's Law. I mean, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And that's kind of what happened to him. Like you mentioned earlier, the play before, that play should have never happened because they ran down the play clock. And then to be able to convert on 4th and 19. I mean, there is no play that you have for 4th and 19. And for them to convert that, and then to get out there and kick the ball on the other side of midfield, that's a lot. That's a lot of things that have to go right. And all those things went right, not to mention the fact that the ball hit the crossbar. I mean, of all things, the ball hits the crossbar and bounces over. A lot of times when you see a ball hit the upright or the crossbar, it goes backwards. It doesn't go in. This one hit the crossbar, gained momentum, and then hit the net. Went into the net from there. So it's just one of the, it's kind of the story of the Detroit Lions. I mean, just have awful luck. They just have awful luck.
What about you, Steve? They cursed?
Yeah, it would certainly seem so. I mean, they had one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game. We could talk about that forever, but it just seems like Mel said, whatever could go wrong for the Lions does. When was the last time? I can't even remember the last time they won a playoff game.
Against the Dallas Cowboys back in 1991.
That's a long time. Yeah, I mean,
they had a couple of close calls, including the one time they went to Dallas and they had that penalty that was no longer a penalty, and then you had the Calvin Johnson rule, and the beat goes on and on. Yeah, so I'm with you. But it's been a while. A lot of people weren't born when they won their last playoff game, and for whatever it's worth on my end, okay, the last time they won a championship was on December 29th, 1957, on my birthday, but that was 5 years before I was born. Take it for whatever it's worth. I haven't seen one since I've been alive. I know Mel hasn't either, and maybe you're the only one, Steve, in this room here.
No, that was before I was born.
Was it really?
57.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. None of us were alive on the Lions. All right, Joe. We won't throw you on the spot, but are they cursed?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy for you. Okay.
Well, their defense was looking a lot better than the Chiefs the week before. I mean, they were having a lot more trouble with Lamar Jackson than the Lions were.
Right.
And Lions put up a pretty good showing.
Well,
I hadn't expected them to perform that well. And I thought that they were getting some things moving. I mean, for a team that's a lot would consider in a rebuild, for them to be taking these strides forward and putting up this good effort against Baltimore, who's, easily in contention for going into the playoffs or a deeper run into the playoffs. I think it definitely bodes well. But since they're cursed, it doesn't matter what they do or how much talent is on the roster, they'll just lose anyway.
Yeah, I think they competed well against Baltimore. They gave them a better show than I thought. I thought the Ravens were going to win by at least 7 to 10 points. The Lions fought hard. Dan Campbell was a rookie coach, but so yeah, are they cursed? They've had bad luck. Call it whatever we want. All right, let's take our act over to Las Vegas, where the Miami Dolphins and the Las Vegas Raiders put on a good show, 31-28 in overtime. And for the Raiders, it's their best start since 2002. Derek Carr was good for 386 yards and 2 touchdowns. And John Gruden will get people off his back saying, you don't have to go back to the broadcast booth after all. So, Steve, you're laughing. I'll let you start off with that observation.
Yeah, I mean, Gruden cracks me up. He's the Chucky doll. So, the Raiders have really surprised me this year, the first 3 games. I mean, I did not expect them to be, to be playing as good as they are. I'll put it that way. But Derek Carr's been lighting it up, and they seem like a team that's believing in themselves. So hats off to them. That was a good game on Sunday. With Miami, I thought they were going to actually blow Miami out. It didn't turn out that way.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, both teams have good defenses. The Raiders have been playing real well defense. They can get after the quarterback. Miami, we know, has a good defense there. They've been playing very well. I didn't see it. They're playing a tough division. You would never think that the Raiders would be where they are right now, and the Chiefs are sitting at 1-2. Nobody saw that coming. If anything, you would think that their records would be reversed. But they play in a tough division, and San Diego's a good team. Denver's playing well right now. So, there's a lot of football still left. We got 18 weeks and 17 games. And so there's a lot of football left, and we'll just have to see what happens. But right now, they should feel pretty good about what they've done thus far.
Joe?
Well, I think based on this 1-game sample size with Jacoby Brissett playing very well, we can see that the problem with the Dolphins was clearly Tua. So maybe him taking some time. He's back on the injured reserve, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. We're going to be seeing Jacoby Brissett. I remember having talks with you and Fluffy earlier in the offseason about how bad it would be for the Dolphins if Brissett took the field. He's had a lot of spot starts. He's been a starter in the NFL. He's very seasoned. He was looking good out there. Waddle was getting a lot of work. Running backs were both getting involved. Brown and Gaskin. Their defense did let up a lot of big plays. Derek Carr is leading the league in passing yards. So he's playing excellently, but I think that this one was totally out of right field. Definitely a nail biter, like the title of the show suggests. And I don't think that Tua would have been pushing the ball in the way that Jacoby Brissett was taking those shots in the field or down the field. And I like the Dolphins a lot more without Tua.
Interesting. Well, last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick bailed the Dolphins out, and the Dolphins were able to get a win against the Raiders. This year, it looks like the Raiders so far are looking good after 3 weeks. But yeah, it was a tough loss to the Dolphins. They competed in a hostile environment for sure. Last year, there were no fans over at Allegiant Stadium. This year, there were probably like 59,000. So, it was a good game. Certainly went in overtime, very close, decided by 3 points. Each team traded field goals in overtime until the Raiders came up with the final 3. So, all right, well, let's stay with the nail biter thing, but this one took place out in wine country, where you had the Green Bay Packers winning 30-28 over the San Francisco 49ers. 37 seconds is all Aaron Rodgers needed to get the job done for the Packers. And for all those people that wonder about the relationship with him and Matt LaFleur, it looks like there was a lot of respect when it's all said and done. I think the coach loves the quarterback more than most people think. But yet, for a Monday night game, Sunday night game, where Aaron Rodgers outdueled Jimmy Garoppolo, this was a heavyweight fight all the way to the end. So All right, Joe, well, you ended it. We even started on this segment on this one.
Well, I think what was the main decider in this game was the quarterback. Put the ball in the players' hands when they want to win, and that was Rodgers. And he knew how to take the ball and get them in a position to win with the right amount of time that they had left. Devontae Adams was looking great. Rodgers has great passes as usual, but Devontae Adams was definitely hitting stride. I believe he's second in the league, and he's got 25 receptions. It's over 300 yards. So he's also doing very well in fantasy. Obviously, everybody wants Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones, I mean, people are looking good. Tanyan was getting involved. And Kyle Juszczyk looked good for the 49ers. Their defensive line was definitely getting after him. I think Nick Bosa was coming up a little bit. He was having some sort of a type of slight injury. But they were looking good. And it was a very exciting game to watch, and exciting for people in Wisconsin. And that I'm really happy that I said that it was going to come down to the best quarterback, and it did.
No, you're not, Steve. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like in the first half that the 49ers were going to get run off their own field. They looked completely out of sync, especially on offense in that first half. And then, I almost turned it off. I was like, this is going to be one of those blowout games. I'm glad I stuck with it. It turned out to be a really good game. They caught fire in the second half, but they left 37 seconds on the clock, which is amazing, isn't it? I mean, back in the day, we talked about back in the day, that would be it. I mean, you wouldn't see anything happen at that time. And nowadays, I mean, guys can get in field. Well, plus the fact that kickers, as we mentioned earlier, the range has increased so much. But it was a great football game, and went right down to the wire, as you said, a nail biter. Kudos to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and nothing will heal a relationship more than winning does. It's amazing how that narrative has changed in the past 2 weeks.
Okay, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think I think the first week Aaron Rodgers mailed it in, but I mean, you see the last 2 weeks that, he's shown everybody who Aaron Rodgers is. And, to do what he did in 37 seconds to get the team in position to kick the winning field goal was amazing. And, it was a good football game, well fought on both sides of the ball. I was watching Nick Bosa a lot, and I don't know if he is hurt, but he certainly didn't impact the game very much from a pass rushing standpoint. I think a lot of people had picked San Francisco to win that game because they thought their defense was better. But Green Bay Packers, their defense is tough, man. They put some pressure on the quarterback. They get after it. And this could be a preview of the NFC Championship. I don't know. Definitely could be a preview of a playoff game, because obviously we still got you got Tampa Bay, and you got the Rams. The Rams are playing at an extremely high level right now with Matthew Stafford, but it was a good win for the Packers. They're 2-1 in a very weak division, so it doesn't surprise me. Aaron Rodgers, he's the better. You look at the two quarterbacks, and he's the better of the two quarterbacks, and that's the reason why they won.
I think one of the more interesting facets of the game was the way Kyle Shanahan used Trey Lance. He was able to get him a touchdown and try different plays to get him involved. So,
that was a pretty gutsy play. Fourth down. Trey Lance is coming in there to run.
Right.
I would think, and they couldn't stop him. That was a pretty gutsy play call at that particular juncture in the game, because the momentum could have shifted greatly had they not converted.
Oh, no question about it. And I think that for those individuals out there that wonder whether two quarterbacks can play, right now, I think the 49ers have a very unique situation where you can incorporate Trey Lance in there without getting killed. Okay. and yet be able to get mileage out of Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think is a great segue to where we're going now with the Cleveland Browns taking care of the Chicago Bears 26-6. We're not going to talk about the play of the Browns. We're going to talk about what nearly happened to Justin Fields, where he nearly did get killed out there. Think about Justin Fields for a moment. Gets sacked 9 times, goes 6 for 20 for 68 years. So anybody that wants to question Matt Nagy for going out there and wanting to wait for Justin Fields, do it now when your prize quarterback is getting sacked 9 times and only has a mere 68 yards. So the only thing I'll say about this thing, and I'm going to let you guys take over from there, is I do believe that it'll be either Andy Dalton or Nick Foles against the Detroit Lions. So I don't think Justin Fields is ready. I think he needs to sit back, carry a clipboard, continue to study, bide his time. And I think this is a good opportunity to realize that the NFL is a much different animal than college. And now hopefully people will get off Matt Nagy's back a little bit and let him go the veteran course that he's going to do. Because a lot of people were, everybody's got that old new shiny armored toy. Let's go out there and see it. Well, Justin Fields wasn't shiny when he ended up leaving that game, got a little bit dirty, and I think he banged up his wrist a little, but not enough to sideline him. But he needs to sit for a while. All right. You know what, Mel, you played offense in the league. Take it from there.
Yeah, that was, you blame the coach a little bit. I watched a little bit of the game, saw some of the highlights. He hung onto the ball a little bit. I go back to the comment. I think, Justin did himself a disservice when he made the comment back in the preseason that the game was kind of slow for him. And he's seen exactly how fast this game is and how difficult it is to read defenses on this level. They didn't do a very good job of protecting him. They didn't have any max protection for Justin. They really did him a disservice in a lot of ways. I mean, they should have had a game plan for Justin Fields and not had him out there executing whatever game plan that they had out there. I don't care who was quarterback. Tom Brady could have been quarterback, and then it probably would have been, been similar results. But the kid held onto the ball a little bit. Yeah, he does need to, he needs a little more time. He either needs more time or more reps, one of the two. And with that offensive line as leaky as it is, I'd much rather give him more time. Let somebody else go out there, see what they can do. And if not, then Nagy, they probably need to look at the head coach. There were a lot of people a lot of pundits, a lot of these talking pundits on different sports shows who are very upset with him and really called for his job for what he did to that kid. And you just hope that it doesn't shatter his confidence. Hope that he's able to bounce back from this. I think the worst thing that you could probably do for him right now is set him on the bench, because you don't want him to have to sit with that bad taste in his mouth, that performance that he had out there last week. Andy Dalton, in my opinion, I just watched the play. It looks like he, did something pretty significant to his knee. Everybody kind of knows what Nick Foles is. We know who he is. And if he is the quarterback of the future, then the future starts now. And they need to get him prepared and get him prepared to play. I mean, that's your job as a coach, to get him ready to play. And that means you have to put him in situations that are going to help him and not hurt him and make him look good, whether it's max protection, whether it's moving the pocket a little bit, whatever it is that you have to do, utilize his skill set and, go out there and help the guy be successful. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. I mean, they don't have a conventional offense. The offense is tailored to his skill sets. They need to tailor that offense to his skill set. Now, he's not a runner. He is a thrower of the ball. He can't throw the ball, but if that offensive line is that leaky, then they need to do some things with max protection, play action, anything they can do to try to get, to help receivers buy time, get down the field, get open, give him an opportunity to throw the football and move the ball up and down the field.
Well, one of two things is going to happen here. Number one, if he does get back in, he has the Detroit Lions. So that might be a way to get well mentally quick. Okay, it might be well against the Lions. Or two, okay, that you go to a veteran and see what happens. And he seems like a pretty humble kid that he can handle it. But here's the one thing I'm going to throw at each of you guys, okay? I personally think that the Chicago Bears gave up too prematurely on Mitch Trubisky. That's what I think. I really think that Nagy ruined him, should have given him a bit more time. And that's just my personal opinion. Mitch Trubisky will rebound in this league nicely next year. He's going to sit behind Josh Allen. And you know what? Get paid a little bit of money to do it and land somewhere else. So I think the Bears gave up on Trubisky too quick. So yeah, I mean, you know, a quarterback has a fragile mentality. Does he? You're right, Mel. 68 yards, 9 sacks. That's a good way to make you think and second guess your count. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that he seems like a humble kid. You know, face it, Mel. When all of us were brought up, how long did it take for a quarterback to get on the field? Anyways, 2 or 3 years. Now you have the ancient league. So for him to sit a little bit, evaluate, look at the film a little bit. But you never know with injuries too, whether he'll be knocked out there to begin with. So, all right, Steve, now that I've said a mouthful, that again, I usually do anyways, go ahead and pick me up from there.
Yeah, you know, I don't like this, what is considered now conventional wisdom that you drafted a guy in the first round, he has to start right away. He's your future guy. I don't buy that. I mean, most of the successful quarterbacks, and there are exceptions to the rule, most of them sat and they learned, because the speed in the NFL is a lot faster than any of these guys face. I mean, when you're playing in college, you might have, you know, one guy on the other team that's just a dynamic pass rusher. So you game plan around that guy. You know, in the NFL, they all move like that. I mean, sure, there's going to be guys that like Myles Garrett, you know, on Sunday, but, you know, I don't like this conventionalism that they have to play. They're still trying to learn, you know, the playbook. They're just in infancy in that. And, you know, the defenses in the NFL are a lot more intricate. They have to know where all these coverages go. They have to know where the players are going to flow. They don't know that stuff. And, you know, these quarterbacks all keep like a notebook on stuff that they see. And, you know, I think it's invaluable for the guys to sit. You know, Aaron Rodgers sat. Well, he sat a lot longer than he wanted to because of Brett Favre. But, you know, I think that was invaluable helping him once he did take the field. It looked like he had been there forever. And, you know, Tom Brady sat his first year. You know, Peyton Manning, I mean, yeah, he played that first year, but it was pretty ugly. If you remember when Peyton Manning was a rookie, that was pretty ugly. But then, you know, he was able to rebound from that. I don't like this thing that, you know, oh, they have to play because you drafted them in the first round.
Well, to validate your point even further, Troy Aikman didn't have it easy either. He got hammered in Dallas. So
yeah, and what were they, 1-15 his rookie year, I believe. So, you know, I just don't. You know, it's unfair to these kids that they get thrown in there, and you know they're expected to be superstars on day one. It's not going to work that way. Very few of them who start from day one. And there were exceptions. Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, a couple of years ago. I mean, they were successful right off the bat, but those guys are few and far between, really.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and trying to get and expecting to get different results. And if that's not what the Bears are doing with their quarterbacks, then I'm not sure what is insanity. As a Bears fan, I was so excited for Mitch Trubisky. They had me going the first time around, but the second time around, it's like, hey, I know what you're doing. I don't think it's going to work, and I don't like it. And you're doing the exact same thing all over again. You're moving up to get this quarterback that doesn't really maybe fit. Then you bring him into your offense. And I think maybe like what Mel was saying, like taking out and getting packages and getting offenses set around the quarterback, that specific quarterback could be really important. So, you know, Trubisky liked to roll out. They did that for a while, and then they just took that away. He kind of got hit and hurt his shoulder. He didn't want to do that anymore. And for Fields, I think he, it might be like reading the defense at first, but then they move into a bunch of different places and then he gets locked in on his first read. Then his second read is really running. So he's locked in on his first read. He doesn't see that. Everybody's moving half a step quicker than he's ever experienced. And all of a sudden it collapsed. Boom, 9 sacks. Feasting by the Browns defense. And I think that it's not going to get much better. I don't see Fields developing this year or next year with this offense, because their identity, the Bears' identity, should always be and needs to be running the ball and playing defense and not flashy quarterbacks. And if you want to talk about a reprieve against the Lions, well, look what they just did against Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson went rampant against the Chiefs and then was held pretty much in check by the Lions. He's a kind of a prototypical type Justin Fields like quarterback. And I think that the Lions defense would really give him fits. And if I was a Lions fan, I'd really want Justin Fields to play because it would give you the best chance to win. So I'm definitely thinking that Mitch Trubisky, he gets thrown into the fire. He's not doing well. His confidence is totally dashed. Then they try to build him back up and they get so excited when he wins a couple games in a row. And then his confidence gets smashed again. They're not playing to his strengths and they're just doing the same thing over and over again with Justin Fields. And I'm not very happy about it. Allen Robinson has so much potential. It's just sitting there in his he's up for a new salary next year. So he's playing for a contract. David Montgomery's coming up to the end of his rookie contract. These are, budding young stars that I really wish that I could have been seeing develop more. And I think that they're going to be bottled up by the quarterback play in Chicago.
Well, you bring up some interesting points. Number one, the only ones biting their nails out in Chicago were the fans, because then you had to wonder, as every sack mounted up, that everybody was very nervous about everything you just mentioned, Joe. I'll take it a step further. Okay. I do believe, and I think Steve and Mel might agree with me on this, that a coaching change is inevitable in Chicago. I really do. You don't want to ruin another quarterback. You want to get a coach in there that you can play to his strengths. And I don't think that Matt Nagy has gotten the job done. He was brought in to Chicago to try to replicate what they did in Kansas City, and he has not done that at all. So I believe a coaching change is inevitable with the Bears. Last game of last week, we're going to talk about, then we're going to go into a couple of ones this week, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams, 34-24. I was wearing a Rams cap before. Why am I wearing a Red Wings? I don't know. I'm just in the mood to wear a hometown hat tonight. And I've always had passion. I love my Red Wings. It doesn't matter. Don't take it personal, folks. If I'm wearing a Red Wings, I just love them. They've won a lot of Stanley Cups, and I'm just in a red mood tonight. So if you're watching the thing, don't worry. We're going to start having a new hat every week. So then you can wonder, what is he going to have on top of his hat? Tonight, it's the Red Wings. But let's get back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams for a moment. Matthew Stafford, once again, gets it done with 4 touchdowns, 343 yards with no interception. And who would have thought that Tom Brady would chuck the football 55 times, complete 41 passes, had a touchdown and no interceptions, had a shootout. But once again, Matthew Stafford is doing some pretty good things out in LA, right, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, you see why LA was so excited to give up on the players and the draft picks that they gave up to get him. He's got a big time arm. He's extremely talented. Gives Sean McVay the ability to do everything in his playbook. And then they got that defense. That defense played lights out. Extremely difficult. I picked Tampa Bay to win that game, obviously, last week, and the Rams look good. They play with a lot of passion in that brand new shiny stadium out there with all the celebrities watching, and they put on a great show. Matthew Stafford looked good. He's as good as advertised, and that was a big time win for him. That could definitely be a preview of the NFC Championship game as well. But No, you gotta be happy for. I'm happy for Matthew Stafford. I mean, I wish Barry would have got an opportunity to go somewhere else. I wish Calvin Johnson would have got the opportunity to go somewhere else. I think Barry would not have retired if they would have allowed him to go somewhere else. And Calvin probably, maybe the same thing as well. But the Lions being who they were or who they are, didn't afford Barry that opportunity. But I'm glad that Matthew Stafford's getting an opportunity to go somewhere else and playing big time games that have some meaning. Most of the games that he played weren't very meaningful games because they weren't going anywhere. So this is a big time game with a lot of pressure on it, playoff atmosphere, and he performed very well.
Yeah, the Rams are looking like the LA Lakers. They're going to be the hottest ticket in town before long in that beautiful stadium. One of the reasons I believe that Barry Sanders retired, though, was when Wayne Fontes left in favor of Bobby Ross. Wayne Fontes loved him like his own kid. He treated him. I covered the Lions during that time frame, and I know the relationship that Barry Sanders had with Wayne Fontes. Take it a step further, when Barry got inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Wayne Fontes had a front row seat. So yeah, give those other marquee players an opportunity to go somewhere else. And I definitely believe that their careers would have extended. But
Barry, Bobby Ross is when he ran for 2,000 yards, but Barry left because he saw a lot of the guys leaving. Lomas Brown left. They ended up letting Lomas Brown leave, and then his best friend, which was Glover, they let him go. He went to I think it was Seattle. He was a center, and that's what really upset Barry, because he didn't want to be a part of a rebuilding process. And that's what upset Barry, and that's what ultimately led him to retire from people that I talked to.
Well, yeah, there's a combination of what you said with those players leaving, and Bobby Ross wanted to treat everybody the same. Wayne Fontes would let him do whatever he wants. So yeah, I think there's that's a combination.
Wayne was cool. The guys played well for Wayne. I mean,
I love Wayne Fontes. Are you kidding? I mean, actually,
Wayne was cool.
I went to school with his son, Mike Fontes, over at the University of South Florida. So a little plug for my alma mater, but Wayne Fontes is just incredible. Everybody loves him.
Wayne and Lenny, they were cool.
Oh yeah, they were. So all right, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, I have to mention your hat because it took me back to when I was a kid. I went in with family to the old Boston Garden to see the Red Wings, and there was a storm, and the Red Wings had gotten stalled in New York, so they had to take the train in. And we had taken the train in to see the Red Wings, and as our train was coming into the old Boston Garden, the Red Wings were all walking in right from the train coming in from New York City, and right past us, Gordie Howe, Alex Delvecchio, Frank Mahovlich was with the Red Wings at that time, and Bobby Bond, who was a tough dude. It's like he played the Stanley Cup with a broken leg. Those were tough dudes, but that hat reminded me of that. But no, that game on Sunday, I thought the Rams were very impressive. I thought they were faster. They seemed very motivated. I thought their defense was really, really good. And, Tampa's defense was hurting, and they took advantage of it. They were complete. So, what did Deshaun Jackson have? Something like 120 yards and 3 catches.
Yeah, then he had that long touchdown.
But that was a good football game, and that's another one. Circle those two teams. I think those two teams are going to be in the hunt. So, we might see that matchup again. I thought it was a really good game. I picked the Rams to win because I know, like, every year, right around week 3, week 4, Tom Brady always has a hiccup. And that's when everyone would always say, might be it for Tom. It seems like you could set your watch by that. That's why I figured this was going to be his hiccup week. Plus the fact the Rams were at home, they were fired up. I think it was a really good game. Hats off to them. That defense is legit. I really like that defense of theirs. And good for Sony Michel. See him getting some playtime.
Yeah, I don't view this game, though, as a hiccup for Tom Brady. I just think he ran across a buzzsaw with Matt Stafford.
Yeah, well, Stafford was outstanding. But, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
ahead of the game, I picked this one as, hey, you know, that defense early season,
Mhm.
this is a game that they're going to drop.
Well, I mean, you had two marquee clubs, something had to give. One of them was going to go down, and it just so happens that Tampa did. Right now, Matthew Stafford's on a mission, and
Yes, he is.
he really is. I mean,
He looked good.
yeah, he did. So, I think he's on a mission. Tampa had nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, from what I heard today, they're actually talking to Richard Sherman right now. And you know what, Joe, you're nodding your head. Why don't you take the lead on?
That's not good.
Yeah. So go ahead, Joe, take the lead on Sherman.
Well, I want to hit just a couple things real fast and then get in deeper on some. So Cooper Kupp, he's leading all points for PPR. So he's got 91.2 points over 3 weeks. He's leading all players in the NFL. He has the most receiving yards and the most receptions at 25 receptions and over 360 yards. So that's big. Stafford's coming out excellent. The Rams defense is good. The secondary for Tampa Bay is coming down. I think that they're not getting as much maybe on the pass rush. Jason Pierre-Paul could be stepping it up. He might have even had some tweaks. So that defense that everybody had been, so stout the year before, it's kind of hard to translate a defense from year to year. It's not like translating like a single player. There's so many more variables, how they're playing together. They're getting older. Maybe they have a different scheme. Maybe they have a different coach or lots of different things. So in this case, they keep all the same players from the year before on offense and defense, but they're having all these injuries on the defense in the secondary. So, maybe they're making different adjustments. Maybe they're taking advantage of that. If they're not getting to the quarterback fast enough, then they're really going to take advantage of the secondary. And Cooper Kupp's on a tear. Doesn't matter who he's playing. He's doing really well. And I think that in the NFL, there's been a trend in the last few years towards letting quarterbacks shift around, not trying to hold on to that franchise quarterback forever, but letting them kind of be like other players where, yeah, they can mix and match and they can move around. And it gives some opportunities to somebody like Matthew Stafford that have been with the Lions. I do think it's super interesting to hear you guys talk about Barry Sanders. I mean, I grew up, also being really interested in Barry Sanders, but you guys with your Detroit connections know more about it. So I think it's kind of interesting. And then on the Tom Brady side, what Steve was saying, that's so funny. I think that could really like internalize this, and it'll really propel him to his whole Brady versus Belichick Sunday night football game next week, which I think is I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that one later. But I think that Brady will bounce back. I mean, he's right up in the top 5 of passing yards, reception or touchdowns. So he's doing really well. These are definitely teams to watch. They're teams that you want their players in fantasy. Darrell Henderson, I think, might be coming back next week. He was kind of on the fence. Sony Michel's getting some work in there. Tyler Higbee, don't sleep on Tyler Higbee. He was looking good. Gronk took those hits to his ribs, but he did come back. His x-ray was negative. I love how Adam Schefter, I was watching Monday Night Football, and at halftime, he comes out and he does this little breaking piece, and then I start getting it on Twitter. Adam Schefter says, blah, blah, blah. Rob Gronkowski's going to be okay. His x-ray is negative. But he got popped. And so that's not good. Godwin was looking really good. They have so many options there. If Antonio Brown was out on COVID, IR, he didn't travel with the team. But, hey, we can look Godwin. Hey, we can look Evans. He's been kind of up and down. I think he's been mostly down this year, but in the next couple of weeks, all of a sudden everybody's hot on Godwin. You can't really shift you can't really double team anybody there. So you're always going to be getting those good matchups that Tom knows how to take advantage of. So this is definitely a game that on the offense, it's easy to talk about. And I was sad that I thought Tampa Bay was going to win, and I was wrong.
Well, I was drinking the Stafford Kool-Aid, so I'm okay with that. So go ahead, get back to my initial thought, Joe, and that's talk about Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman, I think that they'll probably sign him. And I know that he's definitely lost a step since when he was in his heyday with Seattle. But then he's going to be coming in, he's going to be learning all their plays. He's going to be trying to adjust with them if somebody's getting passed off or whatever. I think it's not going to be a silver bullet, and you really might not see the effects of that until later on in the season, like weeks 12. But definitely in time for the playoffs if he's signed.
Yeah, I think if they bring him on, you got an older guy trying to mentor the younger guys and teaching them how to play as well. So, I think that's one of the intriguing parts about it, Steve. Why don't you take it? Then we're going to talk about 2 games before we wrap this thing up. But what could the Richard Sherman effect, Steve, be like for the Tampa Bay Bucks?
I don't think he's going to have a great effect on them. I mean, obviously very talented veteran, but I think his best days are behind him. But right now they're banged up in that secondary. They could use some help. I think he'll help them, but I don't think he's going to be the Richard Sherman that people remember, like with Legion of Boom. So I think it's always helps to have a smart veteran back there, because he can help some of the younger guys that have to be forced to play. But I don't foresee him being, a significant impact player at this stage of his career.
Fair enough. Okay, let's talk about a couple of games this week. Arizona Cardinals 3-0. That's LA Rams 3-0. Couple of stats worth pointing out. Okay, not fantasy stats, called reality stats. Okay, Joe. Kyler Murray has 1,005 yards, 7 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. And yes, Matt Stafford, once upon a time we talked about him a few seconds ago. We'll do it again. 942 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a whole lot of hugs from Sean McVay. So, all right, Steve, go ahead. Let's talk about this football game here. Who do you like and why?
I like the Rams in this one, but I think this is going to be really fun to watch. Both teams are playing really well. Both quarterbacks are playing really, really well. And this is going to be one of those barn burners, I think. I think this is going to be a high scoring, late game heroics type of thing. But I like the Rams.
Yeah, the game will be played in LA for those that are interested. All right, Joe, what do you think?
I think that I really want to see if the Cardinals defense is for real. So yeah, we all know that Kyler Murray is for real, but they've been getting after the quarterback in Arizona. They've been getting a lot of sacks this year, and I'm curious to see if that's going to translate against a really solid offensive line like they have for the Rams. I don't think that it's there right now and that they're going to lose, but for the rest of their prospects, they have a lot of weapons too. And Kyler's not hyper targeting DeAndre Hopkins. So he's trying to play the field and get other people involved. And even James Conner was coming up and playing well, which, so I'm taking the Rams, but I'm really curious to see how the Cardinals defense plays.
Okay, Mel, you're from the LA area for once upon a time.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a good matchup. You got 2 NFC West teams going at it. Both of them, I believe, are undefeated right now. So it's going to be a good game. But the Cardinals are getting ready for a tough stretch in their schedule right now. They're going to play the Rams and the 49ers and the Browns. So they got a tough stretch here, and this could be this could determine what the direction of their season. If they're able to go out there and get 2 out of 3 of these next games, that bodes well for them. If they drop all 3, then we're talking about the same old Cardinals again. So, but I think the Rams are going to win. I think they're better defensively. I think they're better offensively. I think Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. The Rams are a better team. I think that I don't think anybody saw the Cardinals being 3-0 at this particular time. I can't even believe they're 3-0, but they are. And this should be an interesting game, but I don't think it's going to be that close.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to make it unanimous. So it's all of us. I'm going Rams in a shootout, like what Steve said. Matthew Stafford's on a mission. I've been saying that all show. I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to say it again next week and the week after until I'm find out otherwise. As long as he's staying on his feet, Matthew Stafford's on a mission to prove all of his doubters wrong. We have a good supporting cast, both on offensively, defensively, and coaching. I think the Rams are going to win this in a shootout. I would say the Rams will win this one by at least maybe 10 points or so, but there'll be a high scoring game. So that makes all four of us drinking the Rams Kool-Aid. Final game, Joe, you alluded to it, so we'll go ahead and get to it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2-1 against the New England Patriots 1-2. Before you react to it, let me give some stats. Tom Brady has 1,087 yards to go along with 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And his counterpart, Mac Jones, has 737 yards or 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. The new and the old. Okay, Joe, this is what we're going to talk about. We know that there'll be the hype machines began after the last Sunday night game was over. Brady's homecoming. I'm not going to get into all the particulars, but let's face it, he is going to New England probably for the first and maybe the last time. Unless he sees them in the postseason and they're in opposite conferences. So go ahead, Joe.
Based on how the Patriots have been playing this year, I think it's easy to see how you would expect that they're just going to get rolled by the Buccaneers. But if there's one person that knows Tom Brady possibly better than like his parents, it would be Bill Belichick. And if somebody knew how to scheme up something to really screw him over, like if you just had like some kryptonite just sitting and you knew how to like get it really close to Superman, well, Bill Belichick has like some of that sitting around in a chest, and he's just been waiting since Tom Brady left for this upcoming week. He's not going to be excited about it. He's not ever really going to talk about it in the media because that's how they do it there. But if I were to read his mind, he's got some stuff up his sleeve that he's got planned just for Tom Brady because he knows how to put him in a bad position. And if Tom Brady throws 2 interceptions in this game, I wouldn't be surprised. That being said, the amount of talent on the Buccaneers right now compared to the amount of talent for the Patriots, the Buccaneers are going to take this one. But I think that Brady might get confused a little bit. I swear. I predict.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I'm with Joe on that. Nobody knows him better than Josh McDaniel and Bill Belichick. So nobody knows what his weaknesses are better than those two. That being said, I still think that Tampa Bay will win this football game. I think Brady's going to come in there with a chip on his shoulder, and obviously, for a number of reasons. They just lost. They're coming off a loss, and they decided to move on from him. And so I think he's going to come in there with a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's going to go, he wants to prove something not only to the fans there, but also to, Bill Belichick that, he still had a lot of football left and that he made a huge mistake in letting him go. They've got a young quarterback there. So obviously, that edge goes to Tom Brady because he's been around forever. He's seen everything. I think their defense is probably a little bit better and their run game is a little bit better. I just think they're a better football team. But this is a big game for the Patriots. They spent a lot of money in the offseason on free agents. I'm sure that Kraft would like to see some returns on that money that he spent. The only thing they have is they have a rookie quarterback. I think they probably expected that Cam was going to be their quarterback, but for whatever reason, Cam is not there, and they got Matt Jones there, and he didn't look very good last week. He looked a little confused. He looked like a rookie quarterback. So he, they're gonna have to do some things for him schematically to make sure that he's comfortable and to get him some confidence early on, some short passes, screen passes, whatever it is that they need to do to get him comfortable so that they can stay in this game, because I don't see them staying close with Tampa Bay. Not with an upset Tom Brady.
So in other words, you're going with the Buccaneers.
Absolutely.
All right, Steve, Mr. Patriot, go ahead.
Look, the flip side of Bill Belichick knowing Tom Brady's strengths and weaknesses is Tom Brady practiced against Bill Belichick's defense for 20 years. He knows everything they do on defense. And, it comes down to matchups. And, week 1, without Stephon Gilmore, the Patriots don't have a lot of speed at cornerback. So what we saw against the Dolphins, who have some speedy wide receivers, they were playing off a lot more than they normally would. I think you're going to see a lot of that against Tampa because they're going to respect that speed because I don't think they can run with these wide receivers. And if they sit back in zone, that was the one thing Tom Brady used to eviscerate when he was with New England, was zone coverage. So I think the Patriots are definitely at a disadvantage here. again, the Patriots have a rookie quarterback, and the offensive line was supposed to be a huge strength of this team. We all thought I don't say up there because I'm not up there anymore, but we all thought that people who cover them, that offensive line was going to be a top 5 unit. It still might be down the road, but right now they're doing a terrible job of protecting Jones. Yeah, he made some rookie mistakes. He held on to the ball a little too long, but he was hit 11 times on Sunday. There's no sugarcoating that. The protection hasn't been good. I think this one goes ugly early.
Well, the best part about being the moderator is I get to speak last on a lot of things, so I'll let you guys do all my talking for me. All I'll say about this football game is Tom Brady is coming off a loss, and he's motivated to beat Belichick. And all I can tell you is I believe Tampa Bay is going to win, and they have a lot more talent. That's all I have to say. Thanks to my incredible supporting cast here. With that said, okay, I do want to bring in one other point. Josh Gordon gets reinstated for the 9 millionth time. Okay, everybody said, one of my favorite one-liners before we wrap up the show is Morris had 9 lives. I need to make the most of what I have. Well, I'd like to know how many lives that Josh Gordon has, because he's going to be with the Kansas City Chiefs when he gets back, and is another story. But any thoughts amongst any about Josh Gordon returning yet again?
I mean, you just feel for the guy. He just has so many demons, and this is a guy that had so much talent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough. I mean, he's this 5 strikes, I guess he's had. I hope he can stick with the NFL this time and keep his life in order. I mean, the on-field stuff to me is kind of secondary to, getting his life in order, because he's had a lot of issues. So I wish him the best.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, Joe, Mel, any quick thought about Josh Gordon or not?
And we've talked about Josh Gordon quite a bit before in the past. We know he's super talented. I think he led the league in receptions, or in yards one year, and I think he missed 3 games that particular year. Extremely talented. You have to think that some of his skills have diminished over time, being away from the field, plus whatever substances he's introducing to his body. You have to think that some of his skills have eroded over time, but he, obviously he's a super uber talented individual because he keeps getting opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps getting chances, and hopefully this time, he'll take it seriously. And he's with. I think he's probably in the best place that he could possibly be, with Andy Reid and also with Tyrann Mathieu over there, because he had that problem when he was coming out, when he was at LSU. I think he got suspended that one particular year, and he had that substance abuse problem. And obviously, he's been able to stay away from it and has had an outstanding career. So, it might be a good place for him to go. Have somebody there that can kind of help him and guide him and lead him and be there with him and hopefully keep him on the right track. But again, like Steve said, I'm just worried about the guy once football is not an option. I just hope he's able to get everything together so that when football is not an option, that he can lead a productive life.
Doesn't hurt that he's got Patrick Mahomes throwing on the football, right, Joe?
Yeah, this is definitely a touchy subject. I think that on a personal level, I hope that he finds like the support system that he needs, so that when he's off the field, he's making the right choices, that there's somebody with him that is there with him, keeping an eye on him, having activities to go and do, something to keep yourself from going to some place where you might use substances. And then maybe he'll find that, especially now with COVID restrictions coming down and people being able to, and teams being able to get with each other more. I mean, when he's coming out for these workouts, like Mel said, people are definitely seeing his talent. It's still there. They can see it when he comes to work out. And there's definitely a need for a strong second wide receiver in Kansas City. But yeah, I just hope that he finds that support system that he needs, that anybody who would be recovering from substances would need to help stand straight and narrow.
Yeah, well, they signed him. Sammy Watkins is with the Baltimore Ravens. What else do I need to say about that? They can use them. And you guys are right. He's got a good support system with Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid. What else can you say? So, guys, once again, another great broadcast amongst all of you. All right, Joe, go ahead. Let everybody know how they can go ahead and get to reach you.
All right, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at @FF_spotlight.
Okay, Mel.
All the social media at Mel Farr JR. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Email address melfarjr@gmail.com. And our website for what we have going on here in Atlanta and back in Detroit for the young folks, melfar.org.
Okay, finally, you, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at SteveB7SFG. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff as well. So always out there if anyone ever wants to get in touch.
And last but not least, us. Okay, if you want to find these broadcasts, feel free to subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel for free. You'll see the visual. If you're looking here, the audio, we'll say there's a marketplace of ways to find it. Some of the key places to listen to the audio: iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And our Twitter account is @Tribune South. So guys, once again, good broadcast. We'll find out what our report card is when we do this thing again on Tuesday. So on behalf of Joe Packhem, Steve Balestrieri, Mel Farr JR, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thanking you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. I only want to leave you on this one note, folks. COVID-19 is out there. Please do the right things. This pandemic hasn't gone away, so please do the right thing. So go ahead and take a notepad and paper, listen to this broadcast as often as you want, and send your comments or whatever, however you want to do it. And we'll hopefully have a report card by the time next Tuesday rolls around. So guys, well done. And we look forward to the next episode of the Sports Exchange. This one is titled Nail Biters Delight. Good night, everybody.